Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another podcast from Teacher Joseph. Before we begin, I just need to tell you that there's a slight delay in podcasts appearing on YouTube. As you know, last week I had to reset my podcasts because they had stopped feeding over from Spotify to YouTube. So it's taking a few days for that to complete. So I think later today, tomorrow, or Wednesday at the latest, you should see my podcasts all appearing here. If you're desperate and you can't wait for my podcasts, you can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Castbox. They're on a few other platforms, but they'll be here in the next few days. Right, let's begin with my weekly lesson. So, this is all about Halloween. And we have a few lovely idioms and phrases, as well as some unusual words to go through. So let's begin. It is Halloween, and as usual, my town has a parade which takes place on the closest weekend. Now, this is interesting because many of you ask me about the preposition in the weekend, at the weekend, on the weekend. In American English, we actually always say on the weekend, okay? However, in British English, we usually say at the weekend. So I just decided to use on today just to highlight that difference. Usually, artists create a monster which looks like it's hanging over the town hall, but as everything has gone digital, there isn't actually anything to see unless you attend the event where monsters are beamed onto the walls of the town hall after it gets dark. Yeah, so if something is beamed, it's transmitted or projected onto the wall to beam. So, for example, if you have a projector, I don't know if you're old enough, but when people used to go on holidays, they would bring back little slides of their holiday photos and then invite the friends round for a viewing. And they would project or beam the photos onto the wall. It's probably more up to date than using the word project because we used to have the old projectors, didn't we, for looking at slides. But now they would be referred to as um, using the verb to beam or project something onto the wall. Yeah, to beam is something much more used these days than the old word to project onto the walls of the town hall after it gets dark. It's kind of sad that there aren't any installed monuments yet. So when we bring about art and put it somewhere in a museum, in an art gallery, or at a Halloween festival, we don't just say, "Oh, there's you know, a monster there on top of the town hall." Artwork is always installed. That's how we refer to art. Oh, that picture is getting installed at the museum today. It will be unveiled tomorrow. So, an installation of art is how we refer to statues, monuments, and in some cases, drawings as well when they take their place, whatever they should be. Art installations. Yeah. So there aren't any installed monuments to visit anymore because they're all electronic. As movie makers say, it's all in the can. And what that means simply is it is all in the can of film. In the old days, and still today, I think, when films are being made, they're made actually on some kind of cellulite film. And that gets stored in a can. Once a movie is made, they get wrapped up, placed in a can, and sent to the cinema. So it's all in the can means it's all film. Yeah, it's how movie makers refer to their movies when they're complete. They've been canned. It's not quite like that with electronic displays or electronic art installations because I don't think there's any film involved, but we still use the phrase, it's all in the can. And I'm using that phrase today to talk about how uh, these electronic art installations are exactly that, electronic. They're beamed over. Right, I went to the town center and was upset that there was really nothing to see. Preparations were well underway, complete with loudspeakers. That's those large uh, black things that make a lot of noise. I'm sure you know what a loudspeaker is. Many people have them in their homes as well. They were loud enough to wake the dead. Yeah, we often use that expression. If something is very loud, we can say, my goodness me, that's loud enough to wake the dead. For example, my neighbor sometimes is very loud when she's playing music. And I often remark, oh, that music would wake the dead. And a pun, you can see there, I've said if you excuse the pun, a pun is when you play with words, when they have two double meanings that you're bringing together. For example, in this case, we're talking about Halloween, which is a festival all about the dead. And I'm referring here to noise, which is loud enough to wake the dead. So that is a pun. That's how we refer to it in English. I don't mind a bit of Kelly Clarkson, but I take exception to Celine Dion. My opinion of her is so bad that I remove myself from conversations about her by saying, oh, Celine Dion, my cat really, really doesn't like her. It seems the only way I can avoid being rude about her voice, and then I continue with my story. Um, let's see. Uh, By preparations, I mean the roads were sealed off and large projectors were placed around the center. The parade at night is nice to see, but there's too many people to make it in any way enjoyable. Yeah, I'll just do this one more paragraph and then we'll and it says here, when I was a kid, Halloween was one night in the year when we dressed up, carved turnips, painted pictures of witches. It didn't extend to weeks of celebrations with horror movies about psychotic killers. It wasn't a Halloween brand, any sense of fun, yada yada. Yeah, the movie Hocus Pocus. That's very good. I think, if I remember correctly, that's the one with Bette Midler. Very nice, yes. There were always objections to it from churches who didn't like it, but it was basically just kids putting a sheet over their head and shouting boo. Um, I think its popularity was because it was a shared experience and time honored. If something is time honored, it just means it's something which people had been doing before, and so therefore there was some history to it. My father carving the turnip. Yeah, we didn't have pumpkins in those days. So we carved the turnip to make it look like it was going to be um, a lantern in the same way as they do with pumpkins these days. My mother making cookies, my grandfather buying sweets. Let's see. These days, the kids just go to the supermarket and stuff their faces full of whatever they can buy. Yeah. So if you stuff your face, it means you eat without thinking about the cost or the value of the thing. And there we are. Right. So, oh, there's a nice one. Look, in more recent years, as religion seems to have dwindled, that's when something is winding down. It dwindles. I don't know where that word comes from, but I'm quite sure that it's going to be related to weaving, sewing, knitting. bearing in mind our textile mills that we used to have in the old days dwindled. And that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll be back soon and let's talk again. See you all. Bye.